to the online graduate research forum for fall 2015. My name is Elshahed, your presenter. I'm a graduate student in the Masters of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies program in the Department of Occupational, Workforce, and Leadership Studies. The title of my research study is a study to identify means to battle corruption and its impact on development, service delivery, and media credibility in Egypt. Literature review. In January 2011, millions of Egyptians protested against their government and their president until they stepped down or resigned. The goals of the revolution were simple and direct. Citizens demanded a change. A couple of years later, I decided to pursue this research study to investigate the current status of the anti-corruption mechanisms in the Egyptian government, compared to how it was before the revolution, and determine if a different strategy is needed to fight the corruption that has invested Egypt's public and private sectors since the 1952 revolution. Like many, I assumed that the revolution is going to affect the battle against corruption, but the results of the research were shocking. The research designed for the study relied on gathering data from previous research studies in the area of anti-corruption in Egypt, articles, different sources of media from the MENA region, MENA stands for Middle East and North Africa, and reports from international agencies such as Transparency International. For the method, comparative and historical research, by looking at articles, reports, and media to compile information to try to look for common themes and to gather evidence and formulate ideas about the past. Major findings. Data availability and credibility. It was a challenge to locate credible data and find common themes between the collected data from local sources versus foreign and international sources, because not everything was being reported to the international agencies. For example, the Egyptian government claims that it has 10 different agencies that fight different types of corruption. However, only 8 of them are listed on the Business Anti-Corruption portal. That means there is no transparent communication between the Egyptian authorities and the international agencies. The second example, the current anti-corruption agencies in Egypt are required to make annual reports, but these are not made publicly available and are only presented to the President, the Minister of Justice, and the Minister of Interior, which is just another reason why Egypt needs to implement a Freedom of Information law. The researcher also gathered from multiple media sources that high-ranking government officials in Egypt are still using journalists to influence public opinion by marketing certain news or adopting certain opinions that serve certain policies. The government versus technology. After the revolution, people found a new avenue that can help them seek justice, and that is social media. Recent research studies and news resources stated that a high number of corruption cases such as police abuse, public sector bribes, or bribing voters during elections. Regular citizens are videotaping such incidents and posting it online only after they receive little or no help from the proper authorities. And only by doing so is when they get contacted by higher authorities who immediately react and take the proper steps. This shows that public sector employees at any level do not fear the law as much as they fear to be exposed to the rest of the country and the world. The people of Egypt are now divided more than ever. Many assumed that they will see immediate change following the revolution, but the rest knew very well that it will take some time. And that disagreement is causing a major conflicts in Egypt. CPI, or Corruption Perception Index, reports that show that between 2013 and 2014, Egypt moved up the ranks from the 114th place to 94th place. Just last month, President Sisi asked the Minister of Agriculture to resign after being found guilty of selling government-owned lands to a businessman for pennies. Even though this is considered good news, it shows that corruption is deeply infested in the government to the point that it's affecting ministers that are being chosen by the elected president. Another major finding was the role of the military internally. The war on terror is directly linked to anti-corruption. Egyptian people feel that the only entity that is not corrupted is the military. Even though the military is busy fighting terrorism in Sinai, it gets called upon to save the country internally because the local governments are not managing their cities properly, nor are they spending the assigned budgets correctly. Just recently, the major Mediterranean city of Alexandria was flooded due to heavy rain. Apparently, the city officials received funding last year to repair the sewer systems, but that did not happen. As a result, many citizens lost their lives because of poor management and the lack of proper anti-corruption mechanisms. The military had to intervene in order to unflood the streets by using military equipment to pump the water out. The governor of Alexandria resigned, along with other officials, and are currently being investigated. An assumption of my study was that I'll be able to rely on credible data in the Arabic language, but credibility depended on the source of the information more than relying on the native language. Given this assumption, I recommend that future research examine the current status of the country's anti-corruption mechanisms to ensure that it did not reach universities and media outlets. The government needs to support the idea of having a social media communication channel with the people. This can be a quick fix for the current situation instead of relying on old means to report corruption cases or to file complaints, which is also a safer way for the citizens to get involved without fearing a retaliation from the government employee. Egypt can follow the footsteps of another country that used to be highly corrupted in the past, like Singapore. In the 1960s, Singapore established an anti-corruption agency that had full government support. It was a standalone, and it had the higher authority over the rest of the agencies, even the Minister of Justice and the Interior. They created firm laws that punishes and fines any person that is found linked to a corruption case. It took many years, but now Singapore is ranked 7th in the world in the Corruption Perception Index, while the United States ranked 20th. The author has submitted a manuscript of this research study for peer review to the publication, the Journal of Government Information Quarterly. On the YouTube page below, please indicate your anonymous preference for this study by clicking on one of these two icons. Also, please post your comments or questions in the YouTube comment section below. I'll respond to your inquiries posted between November 17th through December 8th. Thank you.